Hello and welcome to this Python tutorial. So we just applied PCA on our dataset, composed of the training set and the test set, and we extracted two principal components, the top two principal components that explain the most the variance. And so now basically we only have two independent variables, and we are ready to fit a logistic regression model to classify new wines and tell in which segment of customers they belong to. And of course, at the same time, we will predict the test set results to evaluate the model performance thanks to the confusion matrix. So the good news is that now we don't have much thing to do left. For example, in this section fitting the logistic regression model to the training set, well, as you can see, we don't have anything to do because we are importing the logistic regression class and we are creating this classifier object, and then we are fitting this classifier object to the training set. So basically, we are ready to already select this section and execute to build our logistic regression model and fit it to the training set. So that's done, and you're going to see that it's going to be the same for the remaining sections. Well, in this section, we will need to change only two things. You will try to guess, but basically the rest is ready. Because now indeed, we can also predict the test set results because our X test is ready and contains the two principal components as well. We can have a look. That's the two principal components that we extracted through PCA. So all good. We can select this line as well and predict the test set results. So now all our predictions of the test set are in YPRED. So for example, the first one is predicted to belong to customer segment number 1. The second one is predicted to belong to customer segment number 3. And the third one is predicted to belong to customer segment number 2. So good, we have our predictions, and now we can make the confusion matrix to evaluate the model. And this is going to be a very interesting code section to execute because we will get to see the accuracy of our classification model with the two extracted principal components. And since these principal components were chosen to explain the most the variance, and actually we know that they explain around 60% of the variance, and therefore we should get a good accuracy because our two principal components are actually the directions of maximum variance in our dataset. So actually let's check it out. I'm going to execute now, and so now the confusion matrix is created. Let's have a look. And by the way, you're going to see an interesting thing for the first time in this course. It's a confusion matrix with 3 classes, which implies that we won't have true and false positive and true and false negatives. We will have 3 classes, so it won't be a confusion matrix of 2 by 2, but since we now have 3 classes, well, this will be a confusion matrix of 3 by 3 with the 3 real classes, 1, 2, and 3, and the 3 predicted classes, 1, 2, and 3. So let's have a look. That's the confusion matrix, and as you can see, we get excellent results. Because in this diagonal here, the cells contain the correct predictions. So for example, this 14 here means 14 number of correct predictions of the class 0. That is basically the customer segment number 1. This 15 here means 15 correct predictions of the customer segment number 2. And this 6 here means 6 correct predictions of the customer segment number 3. And the rest, for example, the 0 here, means that there are 0 cases where the real result, the real outcome for the observation that is the wine is type number 1, that is customer segment number 1, and the prediction was type number 2, or customer segment number 2. So we can see here that we have almost no incorrect predictions, except one here that corresponds to the case where the real outcome is the first customer segment and the prediction was the second customer segment. So that's actually pretty good, and that is exactly thanks to principal component analysis because we extracted the independent variables that explain the most the variance and therefore make our two principal components great predictors. So that's why we get a really good accuracy here. We can actually compute it. Well, let's see, we have 14 plus 15, 29 plus 6, 35. So that's the number of correct predictions, and we need to divide it by the total number of observations in the test set, that is the total number of predictions, and that is actually if we have a look at here, the test set contains 36 observations. So we need to divide 35 by 36, and that's actually a very good accuracy because we get 35 divided by 36, we get an accuracy of 97%. So that's really good. And actually for this specific split, that's the best we can do if we don't get a perfect accuracy of 100%. So really good, and we'll see if the other dimensionality reduction technique, LDA, can beat that. That is, can make us obtain an accuracy of 100%. All right, so we're done with the confusion matrix. We got good results, and since we got good results, we will get also excellent results by visualizing the training set results, because we will get, distinct prediction regions perfectly well separated by the prediction boundary. So let's have a look, but let's not go too fast here. We need to change one thing in this section. Well, one compulsory thing and then one more optional thing for the form. And actually, let's start with the form. We just need to replace age here by PC1, because age was the name of the first independent variable in the example of part 3, the social network ads, and same estimated salary here was the second independent variable that we need to replace here by PC2, because now our two independent variables are in fact PC1 and PC2. And actually, let's do it here as well. Let's replace age by PC1 and estimated salary by PC2. Okay, and now we also need to change, I'm going to enlarge this. We also need to change one more thing, and this time that is compulsory. Can you guess what it is? You can pause on the video and guess. I'm going to tell you now. Well, this is related to the fact that we now have 3 classes instead of 2, and therefore we need 3 colors for the prediction regions and the observation points. Because remember, we need to distinguish the prediction regions with colors, and since each prediction region corresponds to each class, well, we will get 3 prediction regions and therefore 3 colors. So I'm just going to add a new color here. So let's pick blue. All right. And same here. Blue. Perfect. And same here for the test set. Blue. And eventually same here as well. Great. So I noticed in a Q&A that some of you asked me about how do we have to handle this when we have more than 2 classes? Well, now you know the answer. You just need to add one more color. And now we are actually ready to visualize the training set results and the test set results. So let's start with the training set results. Given our 97% accuracy, we know that we will get perfectly distinguished prediction regions, almost perfectly well separated by the prediction boundary. So I'm going to select this and let's go. Done. And here are the beautiful results. So first of all, we can clearly see the 3 different prediction regions corresponding to the 3 classes. The red one corresponding to the first customer segment, the green one corresponding to the second customer segment, and the third one corresponding to the third customer segment. So as a reminder, that's actually the regions where our model predicts to which customer segment the wine belongs to. And then we have all these points here that correspond to the real observations, that is the real observations that we have in our training set. And so we can clearly see that all the red points are in the right class, that is the right prediction region, except for this one here. Then all the green points that correspond to the customer segment number 2 are in the right prediction region, except for these 2 ones here. And finally, all the blue points corresponding to the customers of customer segment number 3 are in the right prediction region, and that's actually the case for all of them. Therefore, the classes are very well separated here, and that's because these 2 independent variables, PC1 and PC2, are actually the directions of maximum variance. Alright, so that's for the training set, and then we can have a look at the test set results. So I'm going to select this section, execute, and in these test set results, again, the customers fall into the right regions, except for one customer, that is this one right here, and that corresponds exactly to the incorrect prediction we saw in our confusion matrix. Because indeed, this customer belongs to customer segment number 2, because it's a green point, and falls in the red region that corresponds to customer segment number 1. So that's an incorrect prediction, and that's the incorrect prediction we saw in the confusion matrix. But all the rest is correctly predicted, and that made this 97% accuracy that we obtained just earlier. Okay, perfect. We are done with this first section about PCA, and now the interesting thing that we want to see is how our next dimensionality reduction technique that we are going to implement is going to do on this dataset. This next dimensionality reduction technique is LDA, linear discriminant analysis, and so the question is, will it beat PCA? So we'll find out about that in the next section, and until then,